So at this point, I want to share with you, okay, some of the, well, you might say, a list of learning questions, also coming from the heart of coaching, particularly in the context of problem solving. And the scenario could be, and many times, if it's problem solving, it's actually the coachee, the associate, the team member who actually goes to you. It's like, Houston, I have a problem. Okay. So the key there is to bite your tongue. Don't give them the solution yet. Because of course we wouldn't know also where your coach is at, where the team member is at. But ask, for example, okay, okay, this is what I'm hearing from you. Let's go back. So you can summarize it. What's the goal? What are you trying to achieve? Why is this important to you? And look at some of these questions. Not some, but quite a number of these questions. These are actually in the list of learning questions that you identified earlier, right? In our Mentimeter list. Then, what have you done so far? Okay. Yeah. How has it worked? How has it not worked? Okay. Based on what they share with us. Then, any options you see going forward? What input do you like from me? Before we move to what's your go forward commitment? Not how can I help you? Now we're framing it with how can I support you in order to add that. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So based on this, my dear friends, right? I want to check with all of you. For example, the question like, what are you trying to achieve? Why is this important to you? What are we What's the question behind the question? Hmm. What are we asking them? So you can put it on the chat box, right? What are you trying to achieve? Why is that important to you? What are we asking from them? What are we asking from them? Okay, just your thoughts. All right. Melanie says intention. Thank you. Sin Quantan says commitment. Could be motivation. Could be the goal, their understanding, their purpose. Thank you. Vision and goal, Dr. Kat. Their dream, their ideas. Okay. Thank you, Janice. Even their priorities, their purpose. I like the essence. Go leap. All right, aligned and driven by the goal to accomplish the task, Chris. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So when we are here, okay, when we are here for, hang on, right? So when we have these learning questions, you're correct. The question behind the question, what you're trying to achieve is goal, vision. Why is it important to you? It's priority. Yeah, it's priority. And then what have you done so far? How has it worked, not worked? Well, we're moving into accountability, right? One time I got a question. Serely, what if I ask my coachee, what have you tried so far? And then they said, nothing. I haven't tried anything. And then my participant said, what she will do is, okay, go back to your cubicle, go back to your table, and think about it. Go, girl, I don't. It's not very coaching friendly. But you get me. Sometimes the accountability there. And thank you. Yes, it can trigger rational thought. Sure, sure. But it will no need to really ask them to think what I might, for example, in a spirit of sharing, what I might do instead. Now that we're here, okay, because for example, they haven't really tried so far. Now that we're discussing it based on what you're trying to achieve and how important this goal is to you, what would you consider trying? Or what would you consider doing? Does that make sense? So it's now moving. And by the way, all of these learning questions, use it as a handrail. Don't use it as a handcuff. Okay? The game plan is not to have a script. You're so funny. You're asking them, but you're referring to the, I know Serely has a list of the learning questions, you know. So using it as really as a guide. Yeah? What worked, what didn't work, it will allow them to be to reflect. And maybe if they haven't tried anything, let's go with pros and cons. What do you think would be the win? Where do you think will the challenge lie? You know, so kind of do that. Thanks, Melanie. Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes what they would really just need, and that's what I see as a goal, as the goal of a coach. You know, we're like a messenger. You know, it's not for us to really, you know, put the answers on a golden platter, but to kind of, you know, have that flashlight, so to speak, hold it for them, hold the space for them, and see what comes up. Yeah. Questions like, what options do you have moving forward? What input would you need from me? It also would the question there is the creativity for options, you know. So let's brainstorm together, and any inputs that you have, because you want also, you know, the openness. And when it comes to this, but Seriously, if we give them the answer, right, that's not coaching anymore. It's not necessarily the answer. It's additional options. What I would usually do is build on what my coachee has shared. So so shout out also to Grace, to Christine, to Pauline from ITD World Philippines. And they know that, okay, I'll be ready also with some questions. And it's more, it's more like a conversation now. And for those who are willing and staying on for our breakout room, will get an opportunity to practice later. And then your go forward plan, obviously planning. What support would you need from me? Partnership. So these are the questions behind questions. And I will entertain questions in a bit, but for me, I would really want to be able to add the most value and move you into some. I think I'm down to my last couple of slides anyway. Coaches, I know you know this. Okay. Grow model, right? Grow model. I think something that a lot of coaches are exposed to. All right. And maybe for those, because we would have a mix of participants, maybe some it might be also a first, because remember, this is part of our 100 million leaders initiative. So the grow model is something that you know, we've actually been seeing. And yes, we're using, thanks Louis buddy, using the grow model too. You have the goal, right? You have the goal, and it's the goal for two ways, no? The goal of the coaching conversation, as well as the goal of your coachee. Okay? What is present for your coachee? The reality, what's happening now? You know, and could be self-assessment. I like doing on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is the highest. You know, how would you rate how would you rate so and so yourself? No, so self-assessment. How would you rate yourself the past week or the past 2 weeks? And anything that gets lower than 10, you have a follow-up question. What can make it a 10? No? So you would have that. No? So that kind of a check on what can make it a 10. So you have the reality, and obviously you have your options. Okay, covering the full range of options. Make sure you have in the coaching conversation, right? 2, 3, several options to work on, so that when you go to the will or the way forward, there's a commitment now. Plus identifying possible obstacles, you know, what do we need to watch out for? And when is our next meeting? No, a follow-up date. So many would be using the grow model. There are other models for Tom Crane, the heart of coaching. We also have a different one, but quite a number are familiar with the grow model. Friends, did you see that the learning questions that we identified, don't you see how it follows our grow model? Okay. Bicolor coordination, trying to achieve. Why important? Goal. What have you tried so far? What worked? Reality. Options. Way forward. The question behind the question. Yeah. So thank you. Hang on. All right. I'll skip this for now. Wait, because I might not be able to. But then, okay, here. So in my so some content, and then I'll open the floor for some questions. Make sure that we would have an opportunity for that. Reflective listening. Okay. Because I was telling Guy, I can't just give like all question, but we don't give the listening portion, right? Because every time I'm asked what are my what I consider three core skills in coaching, is gonna be asking questions. Actually, before asking questions, for mine it's listening. Okay. We listen, 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 listen. We ask questions and then giving and receiving feedback. So the giving and receiving feedback would be another could be another boot camp that we can provide. Now, I want to share with you two kinds of listening that I hope even in your breakout rooms you'll get to do later. And that would be reflective listening. Okay, reflective listening, head centered. We're in It's now based on what I got from you. Okay. I want to get on the same page. This is where I will paraphrase, I will reflect back. Especially when your coachee tells you something like maybe a paragraph long. Okay. That is where you would go, this is what I'm hearing from you. What I heard you say, yes, I'm understanding you. This is what I'm getting. So you have a reflective listening, just so you know that because sometimes you might not be completely listening to your coachee, but listening to ourselves, reflective. Then we move to empathy. Empathy. We put ourselves in their shoes. You identify with, you relate to your experience. And I know some would say label the feelings. I'm seeing this, I can relate. I see, I see how this affects us and all. You can label even the feelings, but it's really more heart-centered as well as head-centered. Yeah. Breathe, everyone. So at this point, okay, I think I'm okay, Brandon, to also share the slides. Okay. Share some of the materials. I'm sharing with you some of the materials. Okay, not some. Well, all the materials that I've shared. Maybe not the Mentimeter. Okay, not the Mentimeter results, but that one is also good. So for those who are in touch with me, connect with me if you want the Mentimeter results. I can also share that, especially the long list of questions. But for now, I can I'll open this up. If there are also questions, please put them on the chat box. But for those who can stay on and would love to network with coaches around the world, stay on. I would want you to I'll invite folks to actually in a few minutes, if there are no questions. So number one, feel free to put your questions on the chat box. If I feel I can respond to it right now, I will. At the same time, we'll get you ready for those who would want to network, get to meet other folks. We will be dividing you into about 3 people in a breakout room. It would be awesome for you to get a chance to actually just practice. Just practice. 3, because one of you would be coach, another would be coachee, maybe the other, and then the other would be observer. We might just be able to do 1 round now, because I think I really just want you to experience it. But more than anything, my suggestion for you, volunteer to be coachee. Why? Because if you're the coachee, it's the problem, issue, or concern at work that you will discuss, and you will get ideas you can pick on. You will have some enlightenment, you will have some things that you can work on, benefit of a coach. So feel free as early as now. What's a problem, issue, or concern that I have at work? Okay. So it could be um Yeah, I think I need to I need to clone myself. Quite a lot on my plate. It could be meeting targets. It could be, yeah, it's almost like, and just like that, the first quarter of 2023 is on its last 2 weeks, man. And if you're chasing for your first quarter, what could be some challenge or issue or concern at work? And so the whole, this is actually the whole, you might say, problem solving coaching process. The coachee, okay, whoever's the coachee, so you can just kind of quickly go, right? You can introduce yourself, hi, hello. It's like volunteer, okay? I think I want to be coachee, okay? And one of you, actually, it's all learning, it's all learning. May you be the coach, may you be the observer, but whoever has a problem, issue, or concern, the coachee will raise it, and the coach, instead of telling the answer, just providing advice, okay, providing solutions, would actually use the learning questions, respond with learning questions, plus reflective and even empathetic listening to clarify understanding. So just for everyone's information, okay, this is okay. Let me kind of move you into this. I will be sharing the list of questions again. Okay, so let me just stop sharing here. But this is the flow for everybody. You have it on your material. Okay, you have it on your material as well. Do we have any? Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And thanks, Iya, for sharing also. I think Lan has a question about the right time to ask learning questions. And I can read Iya's tip, right? Expand the coach's mind. Awareness first. Okay. Awareness first before he can think of options. Different state from the time they enter the room, or a different state when they're thinking about their problem before they can creatively think of how they can solve their problems. Agree? Agree, yeah? Recognizing the right time to ask learning questions is um because part of that, right, is the what's the great question. Okay? And it's the right question at the right time with the right intent. For me, it really, really depends on listening. So we kind of have to listen really to our coachee to know what kind of what do they need from us. Okay. Okay. And Dr. Peter, this is the trigger. I have a problem at work. Please coach me. Okay. That's, Dr. Peter, yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a trigger for a learning question. You know, for me, every time that you feel like you want to give a suggestion already, that's also the perfect timing to ask a learning question. So everything that we can do to support, to support the coaching. So friends, I know we're just seeing each other here, but hang on. Let me just maybe share the screen one more time about the learning questions. But at least you already have your handouts. Okay. Anything that I missed? Any inputs, Peter or Guy, before we move them into these are the learning questions. Okay. Any questions from everyone? I'm excited actually. I hope you stay on. I know we still have it's just about 9:30, so just enough time for maybe I'm looking at a 15. We still have enough time, Guy and Dr. Peter, for about 15 minutes, right? And then just enough time to come back in. Um if you really tell them, I'm sorry, I think in my night clothes I might not open my video, but you're there, we can forgive you. It's okay. You know, that's better than, at least it's really in the learning and it's really part of the boot camp. It's not really a typical webinar, but a boot camp because of the breakout rooms. So any other piece? All right. Chris says a non-directive approach if the problem is not yet urgent. Okay, yeah. So Pearl is just answering. Ask yourself, why am the man, why am I the one talking? Because Pearl, that's very true. 80, 70 to 80% coachee, 20, 30% coach. You know, that's typical one. Chris, okay. Yes, non-directive approach if the problem is not yet urgent. I think you raised an important point. If already the problem is, is already really, really urgent and might not have sufficient time to, what do you think? Right? What's the best approach? My typical example there is when the house is on fire, you don't say, what are we going to do? Who's going to call the fire truck? Et cetera, et cetera. When the house is on fire, sometimes a directive, just at the moment, a directive approach. But here's my tip for everybody. Please do a post-mortem. Do an after-action review as soon as things have settled down. Because that's a great opportunity for feedback. That's a great opportunity for assessing the feelings, the emotions, etc. I'll answer that some more, Chris, when we come back after our breakout room.